So on my next little server adventure, I'm going to be putting this system here into this case. Yeah, that's about it. Order case I had laying around. It's a really cheap case, but it works. I'm happy with it. We're going to chuck this system in it. We're going to chuck this drive thingy in it so I can put 3 drives in the front. We are going to be using that 5450 there as the main GPU, because you just kind of have to have one. I don't want one. I can't really put the Quadro in it as a GPU because there's only a 4-slot case, and even if I could, I couldn't put in this old RAID card, which will let me put in a few more drives, which is kind of handy, especially in this case. So I'm going to put 3 drives in here, and I can shove another 4 in here, put in a ton of drives in here. I'm going to use BTRFS RAID 5 for the main reason that BTRFS RAID 5 supports different drive sizes, and you can just kind of fill up all the drives. It's pretty handy, and I like how it works. Mainly using it as a backup. Also, since this guy has quite a bit of RAM and a fairly beefy CPU, I'm going to be using him as a virtualization host in the cluster too, along with that other server you can hear in the background. So let's get to building. Let's find the I/O backplate. I'm having this annoying problem with this server, which I think it's on right now. I'm pretty darn sure. Yeah, it is. Where it's not showing up the RAID card, which I tried a different one. It wasn't showing up because I think one of them had bad firmware. So I tried my second old one that I had laying around. It didn't do anything. I tried using it in a different slot. I think it's this motherboard that's acting up, not the actual RAID card, because I know that card worked well on this server. It worked perfectly exactly how I wanted it to. So that's annoying. So that leaves me with 2 options. First option, which I kind of want to do, I'm really tempted to do this. If I can get this board working, which has an i3 in it, I'd want to use that instead, or even that guy. But no, not that guy, because he only has 100 Ethernet. But that's it. The other thing I could do is just use the onboard RAID, but I don't really want to. So here's what I'm going to try first. Step 1, I have a Windows SSD over there somewhere. I'm going to try that and just see what Windows does. Here's the issue you're seeing. We have the Mega RAID SAS thing. We have the controller here. It doesn't discover a host. I could try updating the driver software, but according to this, it's been installed late 2015. So I truly doubt that's the issue. I think it's a motherboard issue, because I know this RAID card worked on that other Dell server, which has better compatibility with RAID cards. It doesn't work in Linux either, which is strange. It kind of acts funny and won't let me enter the web BIOS. It does some weird things. Yeah, so I'm tempted to try another RAID controller. I'm going to try my PERC 6i, which is in my Dell right now, and just see if it does anything. Kind of curious what it would do. And here's the Dell PERC. I'd probably be using it if it didn't have these connectors on the top. It had the newer style ones here. But, you know, let's see how it does. Just thinking. This is more out of curiosity. I'm probably not going to use it. I don't actually have any drive extent. I don't have any cables for it. So there you go. She's plugged in. We're going to have to plug our Linux drive back in here and boot her up and see how she does. So the Dell PERC card is showing its full RAID controller utility thing. Works perfectly. I can move around as much as I want. That's annoying, those LSI cards. So I have a few options. I could probably try to reflash one of them with newer firmware, hoping that would help. But this one has ancient firmware. This is like 2007 era firmware, so I don't know what to think about that. That's just it might be a funky RAID card. This might have weird firmware. I've never had really good luck with RAID cards on like consumer motherboards like these ones here. So yeah, I'm gonna try a few more things. I can't seem to get any of these RAID cards to work, so it looks like I'm just gonna be using onboard RAID, which isn't great, but I guess it works. I guess I could kind of do GPU pass-through if I really wanted to, or maybe I'll pick up another RAID card one day. I'm probably gonna come across it once in a while, or like a 10 gig network card or something if I ever get into that. Yeah, so it looks like, okay. So what do I currently have in here? Here, pop this guy out. I have 2 drives here. What do I have? I have a fairly bad drive. I have a 800 gig. I think I have a 1 tera here, which shouldn't be here because that guy's kind of bad. And I have a, I have a 160 boot, I have a 2 terabyte here, I have a 3 tera which is good, and I think a 1 tera which is pretty bad here. Total of 6 ports, and I also have a DVD drive which I really don't need. Probably just keep it in there for looks. So I mean, if I have 6 ports, I could run, and I have some USB ones converters too, so I could realistically run. What could I realistically do? I could realistically run the boot drive and then 5 other drives. So I have the 3 tera, the 800, this guy, the 2 tera. So that's 4 drives, and then I can fit 2 more. So I'm probably fine. I probably don't need it. I just kind of wanted it. You know, you want the most you can get. So let's reconfigure that hardware now and have some fun doing that. So finally got the system configured again. After another day or two, you can see all the drive ports are used because I'm using 3 drives here, 2 drives here, and another 2 here. So actually, I think 2, 2, and 2. So one of those isn't plugged in. I have another internal drive sitting here, so I think I have a total of 7 drives in this guy right now. So he's filled. This video card will be used for pass-through. It's not very fast, but it's for experimenting and fun little tests and stuff. This is for the main OS. This is going to be, there's a 116 here, which I'm going to use for the OS install. Everything else is going to be used for storage. Not much else to say. I'm going to get Fedora 24 installed on it now. So let's make myself a bootable USB and get Fedora 24 server on it. 24 is brand new right now. I think it's less than a week old. Should work with Overt 24, which is what I'm using now. So let's hope so. Okay, so I have the power plugged in, I have the install disk, and the first thing I normally do before installing any OS is I physically unplug every drive except the ones that I want to install it onto, which you can argue isn't really necessary these days, but it's just something I kind of do because it lowers my chance of, oops, I deleted something. Some of these drives have data that I want to remount. And yeah, now if I unplug everything, I know it can't touch it no matter what it does. And the only drive I've plugged in, I don't care about. So now it's going to turn on, and there's going to be a keyboard that's going to be activated. I think it's this one. I really don't know though. Probably should find that out. Yeah, it's this guy. Here, it's probably pressing delete. No, I want F8. I want F8 because I don't want virus. And there we go. I have to enter my password to get into the boot menu on this motherboard. So here we are on installer. I speak English. It's taking longer than I expected. Okay, here's a few things. Okay, first thing, installation source. So it's going to be installing it from the network. I don't know if it'll let you change it for this one because it's a net install version. It won't let you do disks. It's going to show me 1 disk. I don't care about the data on here. I'm going to manually configure partitioning. I don't care about encryption on the boot drive, so we're going to click done here. It's going to show me this now. It's first thing going to show me this from a previous install. I want to delete everything on here. Delete it all. Sorry that I'm using a CRT. I might hear that. Actually should make it a lot better. And sorry about the CRT usage. It's just kind of what I had plugged in and ready. Okay. BTRFS we're going to be using. Now if we say plus, it should automatically create, we don't want that. Create them all automatically. It'll take a minute. It'll make this partition. Here, does it let me change the size of this? No, it doesn't. Okay, so we're going to get rid of this guy. I don't know exactly how it's doing partition tables. We're going to make a... Is it make a slash home that's ridiculously small? We're going to make a slash... Okay, because slash home was just on slash. Okay, and slash, I think right now is boot, I want to say. We're just going to make it slash. We're going to make it... I mean, 15 gigs should be enough. But I mean, we're going to go 20. And of course, numlock isn't being pressed. So we're going to add 20 and you have to put a G for gigabytes. Add a mount point. Going to be a 20 gig folder here. It's whatever reason 20.5. Oh, because it's including slash boot probably. That works. And then we're going to make a... Actually, we're not going to mount this, but we're going to make it 140... Actually, we're just not going to make a partition. We'll make this partition later. We're going to have a ton of empty space because we're going to use this also for storage on this drive. It's gonna complain that we're gonna touch a ton of files on it. It's okay. Next thing, install source. Don't touch that. It's automatic. Don't touch that. This one. Here's the thing. You got a ton of choices here. And make it viewable. I'm gonna do minimal install Fedora custom OS. What's that? Okay, I'm gonna do minimal install, which is pretty darn limited. But I don't really need much because I'm gonna be installing over and a couple of file management tools, and that's about it. So I'm gonna click done. And that's pretty much it. It's going to give me a password and username, and I'm going to go create that off camera because I care about security. Once it's done, we're never going to have to touch this physical system again because it's going to boot and we're going to get into SSH. I'm not going to be installing Cockpit because it's the basic one. Should be very quick because this is a very basic install. Okay, so I'm going to add this server here to the cluster. Here is a CentOS server, so you name A is a CentOS 7 server. I'm going to add it to the cluster now before I do anything else, before I mess with drives or anything. So we're going to do that by installing this right here. Copy and paste it into here. You have to install it as root. It's going to take a minute. It's going to add a repository which lets it get all the overt software. Once we do this, which takes a minute or two depending on how fast your network and system is, you can go add it in here by just going, editing the cluster. You go to, wow, I'm getting it wrong today. Okay, you go right click new. And you just type in the name of the server here. It's going to be running server 3. The IP or address of fully qualified domain name and the root password for the server. So now that it's done, we can type in the key, password. It's going to complain about this. I'm actually going to configure a few more things, going to allow it to have pass-through and unsafe root. What does this do? Okay. This just gives kernel options that lets me run a graphics card through, and it can't connect because I probably typed it in wrong. So I'm going to go configure this. Okay, so I've currently set up all the hardware for the server here, so you can see if I look under hosts, Brandon server 3 right here is what the new one we set up here. So you can see if we look under software, we can see it's properly set up. We see all the cores, so 8 threads, 4 cores. We can see all the info, you can see all the RAM, how much is used. I think it's currently running 2 VMs on it right now. SE Linux modes, blah blah. All the software that it's running, hardware version, ER data, because it's not running Foreman. See the VMs are running on it. The network interface is host devices, which is basically PCIe and all the different SATA, PCIe and USB devices, which you can pass through. So here, essentially, if you want to do pass-through, I was having an issue using those 5450s doing it, and I also had to change it to CentOS 7 to get it to work properly. 5450s, for whatever reason, don't want to do it. You have to enable, sorry about that notification, you have to enable both of these here. Okay, this one is for GPU pass-through. You have to enable that, and this one is for nested virtualization, which will let you run a VM inside a VM. It'll essentially allow it to do that. So I have this virtual machine here, Windows 10, I was testing it. And it'll take a second to fire it up. Come on, turn on. There we go. We'll show it to you in just a sec when it's running. Now let's look at the software. So this here would be PuTTY with tmux on it, which lets us split up the screens. So we can go fdisk-l, and that will list all the drives. So we can do, if you want, probably the best way to do this would be grep/dev/sd, which will only show us the drives here. So we can see here is the, what's SDG1? Okay, if it has a 1 or number after it, it's a partition. If it's just a letter, it's a drive. So you can see there's a 2 terabyte, the 3 terabyte, the 1 terabyte, the 160, the 800, the 250, and the other 160. SDA is probably the boot drive. So if you do fdisk/dev/sda, we can do L to list all the, oh, that's the wrong one. P is for printing, that's definitely the boot one. So we can say new, and 7 partitions, first sector, ooh, it's not going to give me a default. I'm going to do 2048 to make sure it lines up. Oh, it has to be 2047, we'll just do that. We'll just do 34, should work fine. Last sector, default there. And do print, we just made a new one. That's one. Oh, there's a big LVM partition on here? What is this? I don't know what drive that is, actually. I'm gonna have to look at it some more. But essentially, we're gonna make some BTRFS partitions. I forget what... I think some of these drives have data /des /sdc. No, let's Q. Q quits it. This should list all the drives. It would be the other 160, so it would be SDE. What is this? This is a Microsoft Basic, Linux Basic. This is our boot drive right here. This SDE drive is our boot drive. If I don't know if I can run info on it. Here. Does this have smart? No, it doesn't have smart on it. But if I go back to this guy, SDE, I can do new. I was gonna have another partition on here for storage as well. So now SDE 5 is going to be another storage partition. So if we quit it now, we can do mkfs.btrfs -m. We're going to do RAID 1 because this is on metadata. This is the data that tells you essentially where the data is. We want this to be RAID 1. D is data. We're going to do this on RAID 5 since we're running some pretty crappy drives. And we're going to put all the drives in, so /dev/sda. You can put this symbol here, which will let you use any drive. The problem is, I don't want to run any drive, and I don't. sdb/dev. Here, let me do something. Let's run this here, so then we can see what all our drives are. So let's do -m. RAID 1 -d RAID 5, and then we're going to do /dev/sda. SDA is from what it looks like a Windows boot drive. This is an old drive that I was using to, what was I using that drive to? I think I was testing a Windows so I just made the partition here with all the devices. So if we want to, probably the best thing we should do is cd/dev/mnt. This is where not /dev/mount, it's just in /mount. So I have a storage backup spot, so we can do a mount / you can mount any drive in the partition, so we can do /dev/mapper/wd this drive /mnt/ storage backup, so it's not going to mount it here. We're going to do df-8. We'll see the 6.6 terabytes available. Now, BTRFS does something a bit confusing, and I think this will help a little bit. So we're going to bring up a calculator. What do we have in the array? We have a 250. We have a 250 plus a 160 plus a 1000 plus a 3000 plus a 2000. That's about how much space it's saying. I think I had another 160, and I forget exactly all the drives I had. But you're getting the feeling. What it does is it lists all of the available space, not what you should list. So here's what I normally do, and normally would recommend you do. So if you can Google RAID space. If we Google BTRFS space calculator, you get this website here, normally the top one in most Google searches. And this guy has a convenient little thing you can list all of the drives. So if I switch back over to my calculator where I listed all of them, that is the physical space and how much BTRFS shows. But since BTRFS is kind of annoying, I think there's like 4 or 5 drives, so that I know there's a 1000, there's a 2000, there's a 3000, there's a 250, and there's a 160 in there. That's what I think. And that adds up, so if I push single, that'll show 64110, which is exactly how much I have. Now if I chuck it to RAID 5, which is what it is running in, how you can see what it does is it makes a RAID 5 on all the drives. Now one of the drives is smaller, so it'll make a RAID 5 with all the drives but one, and it just keeps doing that. And it'll show us we have 3.4 terabytes available. If we run it in RAID 1, which will essentially do it, we'll have 3.2 available, but we'll have 2 copies of everything. RAID 0 is a full stripe. We'll have 5.4 terabytes of RAID 0, but you really shouldn't do that. RAID 6 will have 1.4 because it can't use any of the space unless we add more drives. So now you kind of get a gist of how it does it. And it's if I wanted to expand it running RAID 5, and let's say I added a 6th drive and added a 2000 gig, another 2000 gig, which I have, that'll bump me up to 5.4 terabytes. And I can just keep adding as many drives as I want. There's no limit. So it says 6.6, but in its current limit, that's how much it is. So we can do BTRFS FI show slash can I just do yeah, I can. Cool. So let's run that again. So this is the only thing. Now it'll show us these are all the drives. So this is the drive, this is the device number. This is how big the drive is. I have a 250 in there as well. Oh, I had an 800 gig I forgot to include. So if I actually go back to the calculator and add the 800 gig, I have 4.2 terabytes. That's why the space was a bit off. It'll show me the size of the drive, how much of it is used, and the path of the drive. Now if I want to mount this permanently, let's go to the other side. We can go to vi/etc/fs tab. This is how you permanently mount drives. Let's undo that. I need to learn VI a bit better. But yeah, if you go, the lazy way you can do this is /dev/mapper. You have to type in the full path of any of these drives. I'm going to type in a drive that I pretty much trust to work fairly well. 800. You can't use number pad in VI, which is freaking annoying because all my laptops have number pads and I'm so much faster with those. AARS-00. So this will essentially add it here if we add it in there and save it. Now it'll show us all the data used. Now if we do like ddif equals /dev/0, this is just gonna make a blank file. It has compression, so we're gonna use urandom. And then we're gonna do /dev/mount mnt/storage backup. We can run this. /test.img. Gonna run this. Why am I not memorizing all my Linux skills properly? So if we run this command, it's gonna make us a file of random data. So if we go ls, we'll see this file. We can do cat test.image. That is a completely random data. It's screwing with everything. Why does it not want to control C out of that? Okay, that fixed it. Don't do that. For whatever reason. We're going to kill that panel and recreate it because you can see those files on it. Now if we do watch BTRFS FI show dot, it'll show this actually slowly expanding. And what it should be doing is all of these things should slowly be growing. So let's make yet another terminal. And if we go watch basically just refreshes it. We're gonna just do cd/storage backup and then do watch it, and we can see this file every 2 seconds is slowly growing. It's not growing that fastly because it's hard to get random data quickly because making random data is hard for a computer. And we can see it's using up all those files. Now I'm going to let this run for a few minutes in the background and you can see how it's going to use up all the drives. And we can essentially what's been happening is I added this device, which was the other partition of the boot drive, so it has another 120 gigs, giving us a total of, I think, 6 point some terabytes with 15 used. I started a BTRFS balance, so you can do BTRFS balance status /mnt/storage backup. And it's going to say 0 out of 8 chunks are balanced, 100% left, so it's slowly working on it. If we do iotop, which I don't think is installed on here, we have to do yum install -y iotop. If you put a -y in there, it always answers yes, so it won't ask you. normally I do that because it saves time and thinking. You've added it, currently it's balancing it, so if we show IO top, it should show it doing a ton of balance work. Yeah, the BTRFS transition thingy, which conveniently isn't at the top. I don't know how it sorts it. I need to work on getting better with using B. Actually, it might not be recording it here, or it's either not showing it up in IO top, won't surprise me, or it's doing it slowly. I really don't know. But in order to test this, we're setting up a file share using Samba to test how fast it is over gigabit. Not the perfect benchmark, but you know it works. So you have to do. So we're just going to essentially edit this. And essentially we're just going to add another share, and then we'll access it and run Crystal Disk Mark, and I'll show you how fast it is. I finished the copy here. Here's the speeds I get on Crystal Disk Mark here. Fairly good speeds. And if I go and open a Windows Explorer window and move it to the right monitor, you can see here it is. I don't have it there, but if I go and let's say copy a few files there, so many drives on here. So here's like a ton of files. These are all just Linux ISOs. If I just copy all of those over, you can see in Task Manager, it will here, let's hit F5 to refresh. It's basically filling it. It's sitting at 99% usage the whole time. So yeah, nothing. It performs great. I can copy as many files, and it's going to sit at that. I've done a lot of tests with network file shares. Some of these, this read speed's a bit low. This write's basically as fast. It's probably getting cached. This is theoretical max. This is a little bit low, but it's really fine, especially since I'm only going to be using it as a backup. But it does show it performs well. I'm going to try to get a better benchmark running on the system itself, so I don't have to deal with the network bottleneck. I'm going to work on that. I might be able to do it somehow with like an SSD or something, but right now you can see it performing quite well. So that was my little introduction for BTRFS on the server. It is, in my opinion, a great file system, especially since you see how it can support different drive sizes well. It performs fairly well. The fact that it can fill gigabit is quite nice. If you want to look at PuTTY, how it why are you always on top? CPU usage is sitting at about 3%, 3 to 5% normally, quite low. Actually, with a VM, Samba's only pulling 10% of the CPU. We can see how it's efficiently using the space on all of these drives here. It's quite nice to work with, and it's not just filling up cache. Actually, it might be. Is it? That's 3 gigs. Yeah, it's not just. It might be filling cache. Give it a minute, but it's quite efficient and good. You can balance it, and you can also run scrubs. So if you want to run a scrub, you can do BTRFS scrub start /mnt/ wherever the drive is mounted. It's going to run it in the background. And then if you want to see how it's doing, you can do status and mount location. And it'll show you the amount of errors it found, how many uncorrectable. Right now it's actually giving me uncorrectable errors, probably due to a bad drive, and how many errors it can fix. So if we do, it'll show me it's finding uncorrectable errors, probably due to a bad drive, and the only way it knows that is because it actually runs checksums. So that's my little introduction to BTRFS on that server. Thanks for watching and subscribe. I'm probably going to do more storage-ish videos in the future.